Welcome, I'm Aditya, and in this video we are going to solve a room from Try Hack Me. The room name is W1seGuy and it is a crypto challenge. So go ahead and download the file. I've already downloaded the source code. This is the file here. I've already downloaded it and it says to have a look at the source code before moving on to task 2. So now let's here. Make sure to start the machine and the server is listening on port 1337. So let's take a look at it first. Netcat IP address 1337. So here we got an XOR encoded text that is a flag. So I'll copy it and I'll say info.txt first flag. I'll store it here first. So it asks for an encryption key and we don't have the encryption key right now. So, and it asks for the second flag as well. Now let's review the source code. So it does a bunch of imports like random, socket server, string, socket and OS. The flag is stored here in the variable named flag and it opens the flag.txt and stores it here. There is a send message function. There is a setup function and this setup function has this block. This block does the XOR. The setup function has a parameter named key and this flag is different from the flag before because this one is a global flag and this one is inside the function. Then there is an XOR variable which is an empty string, and finally the XOR stores this final flag which is encoded. So one important thing to note here is that we have to make sure to use the modulo with the length of the key. And finally it returns as hex encoded. And yeah, the first message which we got was this XOR encoded has flag 1, then we got the hex encoded value, and this is how the key is generated, and this is where the key is stored then as a string. Then the hex encoded calls the server setup, and finally we get it printed. After providing the correct encryption key, we'll finally be able to see the second flag as well. So we just have to focus on finding the encryption key and we'll get the answer. So first of all, I would like to see the length of the flag. So I'll do Python here, length. So the length of this hex string is 80, means it will be 40 bytes. So now I'll copy this. I'll go to CyberChef and put it here. And here the first thing which I want is from hex and then an XOR. Change this from hex to UTF-8. And now we have to put the XOR key. In the source code, when I said that this is how the key is generated, you can see the value of k is 5, which means the length of the key is going to be 5. So for this, I'll put it in for the txt. Key length is going to be 5. And one important thing to note is that when you're performing XOR, when you perform A XOR B, and suppose the answer is C, this is only an assumption, suppose the answer is C. So if you'll do B XOR C, then also you'll get A. And if you do A XOR C, then you'll get B. means these goes in a circle. So here you can see that only the first 5 will be used. So we can use the first 5, THM and T. Okay, actually we cannot use this T. We can only use the first 4, THM, T. Because the later one, this is a fake flag, is actually not the actual flag. So we can only use these 4 bytes. So I'll put the 4 here. And from here, these 4 will be the actual part of the key. But we need the 5th one. So for the 5th and final part of the key, we'll brute force it. Key partial equals this one. We'll also verify using our Python code. So let's write a program for this brute forcing. Main.py. Before this, I have one good thing to share with you. This is import string. We don't have to go byte by byte. We can directly do import string. This is a really cool technique I learned recently. Then make a character set of it. So CHA character. Make a character set of it. Then string.printf. So now you won't have to go byte by byte. So if I print this character, you can see. Here, this is the entire character set. So we'll go through each one of them, and finally, whichever one will yield the result, that will be the final key. So now, I'll first put the string here. So hex string. So our hex string is actually this value. And okay, now we have more space here. Now we need the bytes from it. So I'll do cipher equals bytes dot from hex, and using the from hex method, we'll pass the hex string variable, and we get the cipher. Now we have these two things. We have to set up the partial key. The partial key we are going to use is key partial equals THM and curly brackets, and in the start put a B so that it is now a byte. Actually, this is not the partial key, this is known key, known partial. So let's just put it as known. And since we know that these are the first 4 bytes already, so we are going to XOR it now to gather the rest of them. After this, I'll put some space here. Then I'll do an empty list for key, and inside it for I in range 4, since we already know the 4 of them. So for I in range 4, followed by key dot append. We are going to append it since it's a list, and the first byte from the cipher, and we are going to XOR it with the first byte from the known. And let's actually print this now. Print key. You'll see numbers now. Python main.py. Yeah, so you'll see a list of numbers. Now we have the partial key ready. We can actually store it as partial key instead of key. So, or let's just keep it that way. Then we have this character set. So in this character set, we are going to loop through them and we'll append it at the end of this key and try to decode the entire hex string. For ch in characters, and let's say it as full key equals, then we have to convert it in bytes finally, so bytes. And one more thing, I can actually show you this. Print bytes of key, and decode. So here we said that the partial key is going to be this S8YU. Let's confirm if that's true or not. So yeah, we got it that it is S8YU after converting it into bytes. Yes. So we are going into the right direction. Let's keep going. And after this, we'll put key plus ORD of the current character which is going on. We have to convert it into a list. So since key is a list, we cannot add two different data types. So I converted it into a list now, and now this should work. And after this, we'll do a byte array. So plain text, let's put it as a byte array. And for I and range, and the range is going to be the entire length of the cipher. So length of the cipher, then plain text dot append. We are now again going to do the XOR, so cipher followed by, inside this I put I, and the full key I, and make sure, here it is the important part, to put the modulo 5, because that's the same thing which happened in this code, because it did key then I percent length of the key. So length of the key we already know it's 5, so that helps here. And finally we can go with plain text equals bytes of plain text, and we can print all of them. Plain text dot decode, and if it print it now, it will print all of them. So but we don't want it this way, so let's make it a little bit cleaner. So let's put an if else statement. If plain text dot ends with byte, and inside the byte we'll put end of the curly bracket, since we know that this THM string ends with the curly brackets closed, so we can use here. And plain text, after this print, let's put it as plain text, and put an F string, plain text dot decode, and finally print. We also have to print the encryption key, then inside this we'll put full key dot decode. Also we have to convert it in. I think this should work. Let's try. Yeah, so the encryption key is this. Let's send it to the server, and yes, we got both of them. So the final one is brute forcing. XOR can be fun, no? And this plain text is plain extract. Okay, I'm not going to read it. I'm going to copy it now, and submit. And finally we have this one. Submit. And we got both of them. So yeah, this was the fun challenge, and it was easy to do as well.